Okay, so what is your name?
So my name is Kelly Truesdale.
And what is your position?
I am one of the assistant directors of the Fontaine Center in the Health Promotion Department at the University Health Center.
What is the Fontaine Center?
So the Fontaine Center is the alcohol and other drug prevention department on campus. We actually got started because of the Fontaine family. They had a 16-year-old son that ended up passing away as a result of a drunk driving accident. He was the passenger in that vehicle. And as a result, his family, some of which are alumni at the University of Georgia, wanted to come back and really create a center for alcohol and other drug prevention, early intervention, and recovery support for students to have a place to learn about alcohol and other drug prevention, but then also, most importantly, prevent any other parent from receiving the phone call that they did about their son.
And so what is it, what are some things that the Fontaine Center has done to prevent alcohol abuse and to deal with just the culture of alcohol that sometimes comes with the college life?
So we have a full spectrum of services at the Fontaine Center. So we have a lot of prevention programming in terms of making sure that students have the information they need to make smart decisions, to be safe in environments where alcohol or other drugs are present. We recognize that a lot of our students are choosing actually not to consume substances, so we want to make sure that we have programming in place to reinforce those healthy behaviors so that they don't feel pressure to start and initiate use. And then we also recognize that we have some students doing so in a safe way, and so we always want to take that harm reduction approach. So really making sure that students have that information to stay safe even if they are choosing. So what does that look like to drink and be safe and still be a successful student at our institution? And then we also have our early intervention services. So this is if a student's identified as being at risk of negative consequences due to their use. We want to sit down and have a confidential conversation with that student to make sure that we can really kind of check in, see what's going on, and figure out ways that they can reduce some of the risk that they're having when they're consuming. And then we also have our recovery support services. So we have a collegiate recovery community. Right now, about 25 to 30 active members in that community of students that are in treatment, or actually in recovery from alcohol, other drugs, or eating disorders. So they've been to treatment, are now in recovery, and have come back to the University of Georgia to be students. We want to make sure that they have a sober environment to be successful students during their time here.
Right. And then during your time here, how long have you been working with them?
I have been here for 4.5 years.
That's a good amount of time. So during your time here, what are some of the effects that you've seen, or if there are any positive? I'm sure there are. What is the positive effect on the student populace? What does that look like? And what changes have you seen over time?
That's a great question. So we've actually seen quite a few changes in terms of substance use on college campuses across the nation. We've really even tracked that back even to the high school. So if we look at some of the surveys with Monitoring the Future, really looking at some of the trends that we're seeing with high school students that are consuming, we've seen those rates decrease drastically. So we know our incoming student population at the University of Georgia, but also colleges across the nation, are coming in choosing not to drink at higher rates than they have in the past. And then we've really kind of seen this trend for the last 3 or 4 years on this uptick of incoming students that are choosing not to drink. I think that's even more so at the University of Georgia as we see our academic standards come up. We're really starting to see the culture on our campus shift. When we started to see these trends, I really had some intentional conversations with students and was like, hey, why aren't UGA students drinking, or why aren't UGA students partying anymore? They were like, we didn't come here for that party school atmosphere. We really came here so that in 4 years, when we write the University of Georgia on our resume, we're going to be taking something away from that. When I'm sitting across from somebody at an interview when I graduate, I want them to look at me graduating from an academically credible institution. So I came here for this research opportunity, for the opportunity to work with this professor. So we're seeing that shift of our students coming in more academically focused, but then also just with trends with the iGen or Generation Z, we're starting to see some shifts with our students being the safest generation to ever come through. So not only are they not only using substances, they're initiating with sexual behaviors at a later age. they are forming relationships at a later age, they're more likely to wear their seatbelt, they're less likely to get a driver's license. So we see them kind of progressing and maturing at a rate of 3 to 4 years later than some of those previous generations. So I think we really kind of have to start and look at what are those incoming students doing and how is that affecting our culture at the University of Georgia. We obviously know that if we don't have prevention efforts in place, that they can easily come on our college campus and shift into initiating substance use. So we really want to make sure, and there's really been this shift in prevention of focusing on the healthy majority. So if we know that the majority of our incoming students are coming in and engaging in healthy behaviors, we want to support those and reinforce those behaviors so that they don't feel the need to shift over and start consuming substances or engaging in risky behaviors once they arrive on a college campus. So we're really seeing that shift. So really making sure that we have intentional programming in place for our first year students and that it continues throughout their academic career on our college campus. So the first week of school we had a lot of late night substance free programs. We had glow in the dark golf, we had laser tag, we had silent discos going on. So we had a lot of activities to really kind of set that tone and that expectation that as a college student there are lots of substance free activities so that students can still have that social interaction that they're looking for as a new student on a college campus without feeling that pressure to engage in some of the substance use that we might see. So I think those prevention efforts have definitely been helpful when we support that healthy majority in delaying that use.
Right. So unfortunately there are still students who do abuse alcohol. What are the what group is at risk of what that's hardest to reach, that's hardest to get to, that's hardest to just to make aware of all the problems that come with abusing alcohol, and what have you seen in trends?
I don't think we can necessarily isolate it to any one group or a type of student. What we typically know is that the majority of our students are engaging in healthy behaviors. I think any college campus is going to have at-risk students, and it's really what you have in place for those prevention measures. I don't think there's one group of students that we could necessarily isolate, because I think within every kind of group on campus, we know we have a lot of students that are, again, part of that healthy majority. So it's really just in terms of what supports do you have for your students that are at risk? What does that harm reduction messaging look like for students that are choosing to